POTV Go app එක දැන්ම දාගන්න. POTV Go SLT POTV TV බලන හොඳම විදිහ.
Security raids continue. Several arrested in operations across 6 districts. Youth propagating extremism through social media also among them. Illegal sterilization. As the topic of complication of cesarean gathers steam, public urged to come forward with complaints of suspected doctor. What is the purpose? British High Commissioner to Sri Lanka responds to questions on the threat of foreign military involvement in Lankan soil.
What we can of course though do, and this is I think what the public is looking to our governments to do, is give them well-founded assurances.
New procedure for export of arms. India finalizes new system to speed up sale of arms to foreign militaries including to Sri Lanka. These stories and much more coming up on First at 9 this Sunday, the 26th of May 2019.
AdaDerana ඇතුළත ඉදිමීම සමනය කරන අතර විනාඩි 5කින් ක්‍රියා කිරීම ආරම්භයි. AdaDerana දිවියට නව දිනයක්. AdaDerana වෙතින් එසේ කැක්කුමට විශේෂඥ AdaDerana Headfast ඉක්මනට සහනය අදම අත්විඳින්න.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Well, a very good evening and welcome to First at 9 on AdaDerana 24 Sri Lanka's news channel. I'm Katharina Chang. Now, search operations were conducted at several areas located across 6 districts in the island today. Now, today's operation led to the arrest of 4 suspects in the areas of Nainthandiya and Maningala. Meanwhile, a youth found propagating extremism through social media was also apprehended. Speaking at the media briefing on the current security situation, Navy media spokesperson Lieutenant Commander Isuru Surya Bandara says that information on 15 ISIS terrorists alleged to have set off from Sri Lanka to Lakshadweep in India remain unverified, as the matter has not yet been officially informed by India.
A number of search operations were conducted across the island today. Accordingly, the Serpentine housing complex in Boralla was subjected to a thorough check by the army. Meanwhile, a search operation was conducted at Dabari Road in Narayanpeta. During the operation, security forces recovered 4 army caps, 10 illegal knives and a set of communication and technological devices. Search operations were also carried out at Minuwangoda, Kopivatta and Japalavatta. Meanwhile, a search operation carried out in Porutota in Nigambo led to the security forces inspect a suspicious building which was surrounded with high walls. Upon inspection, the army discovered that the building was used as classrooms to conduct lectures. During the search operation, 28 children between the age of 10 to 18 were inside the building along with 4 women. The owner of the building was identified as the father of one of the children present inside the building during the time. Meanwhile, search operations this morning also led to the arrest of 4 suspects in the areas of Nainthandiya and Maningala. During this operation, the security forces seized 4 motorbikes and a 3-wheeler. They also recovered 2 swords, 28 compact discs, 48 suspicious books as well as 7 magazines. Meanwhile, commenting on Indian intelligence reports on 15 ISIS terrorists who are alleged to have set off from Sri Lanka to Minicoy Island in Lakshadweep, Navy media spokesperson Lieutenant Commander Isuru Surya Bandara says that the report remains unverified as the data has not yet been made official by India.
There was a news flashing on Indian websites and the media today morning saying that 15 ISIS terrorists have allegedly escaped from Sri Lanka to Lakshadweep Island. The Sri Lanka Navy has not yet informed in official ways about this information, so we have taken this as unverified information. However, the Navy has taken necessary steps to inform all naval units, fleet units and ships and craft in the area to be vigilant and to be alert on this information. And if there's anything cited or detected with regard to this, the Navy will definitely take up whatever the action to be taken to curb that.
Segusi Abdin Safi Muhammad, a doctor at the Kurunagala Teaching Hospital, who was arrested over allegations of acquiring a large number of assets through suspicious means, was handed over to the Criminal Investigation Department last night. Meanwhile, several mothers who underwent cesarean operations by the arrested doctor lodged complaints against him at the hospital today. Segusi Abdin Safi Muhammad, a doctor at the Kurunagala Teaching Hospital, was arrested recently over assets earned through suspicious means. According to the police media spokesperson SP Ruwangunasekara, he was handed over to the Criminal Investigations Department last night. According to the director of the Kurunagala Teaching Hospital, the arrested doctor carried out close to 8,000 cesarean operations at the hospital. A nurse at the hospital also lodged a complaint against Segusi Abdin Safi Muhammad, alleging that he was involved in illegal adoption of an infant born at the hospital. She further stated that after she underwent operations carried out by the doctor, she faced medical complications in her urinary tract. Today, several mothers who underwent cesarean operations by the arrested doctor filed complaints at the Kurunagala Teaching Hospital. The police requested the public that if they have suffered complications following operations conducted by the said suspect, they are able to lodge a complaint with the police. Police spokesperson SP Ruwangunasekara said that 2 complaints against the Eastern Province Governor ALAM Hizbullah and 1 complaint against Minister Rishad Badiuddin have been forwarded to the Criminal Investigation Department. The complaint against the minister and 1 of the complaints against the Eastern Province Governor was filed by General Secretary of the Ravana Bala organisation, Venerable Ittayakande Saddahatisthera, on the 15th of this month. The organisation accused the relevant parties of safeguarding the accomplices of the Easter Sunday attack and requested that immediate legal action be taken against them. Meanwhile, another complaint against the Eastern Province Governor was filed by the Executive Director of the Buddhist Information Centre, Venerable Angulgalle Sirijina Jinanandathera, on the 24th of this month, calling for an investigation on MP Hizbullah over contempt of court.
MLAM Hizbullah Mahatata Erehiva, Police Mulastane Veta Paminili Dekak.
Meanwhile, UPFA parliamentarian Bandhu Gunawardhan emphasizes that all madrasa and Arabic schools in the country must be banned. Speaking at a media briefing at the opposition leader's office today, the parliamentarian, however, went on to say that should the cabinet decide that such schools should be brought under the purview of the Education Ministry, then an act must be passed in Parliament.
උපකෘත පාඨශාලා පනතේ 25 එක ආ වගන්තිය අනුව අවුරුදු 5ත් 14ත් අතර දරුවෙකුට අධ්‍යාපනය ලබා දීම සඳහා පාඨශාලාවක් පවත්වාගෙන යා හැක්කේ රජයටම පමණයි. වෙනත් පුද්ගලයෙකුට හෝ සංවිධානයකට හෝ ආයතනයකට පාඨශාලාවක් පවත්වාගෙන යන්න බෑ. එතකොට මේ මද්රසා පාසල් කියලා අවුරුදු 5ත් 14ත් අතර දරුවන්ට උගන්වන කිසිම පාසලක් ලංකාව ඇතුලේ තියෙන්න බෑ. ඒක නීති විරෝධී. එහෙනම් මේ ආරම්භ කළා තියෙන මද්රසා සහ අරාබි පාසල් 2000කට ආසන්න ප්‍රමාණයක් හෝ 2000කට වැඩි ප්‍රමාණයක් ආරම්භ කළා තියෙන සම්පූර්ණ නීති විරෝධීව. එහෙනම් රජය කළ යුත්තේ මේ නීති විරෝධීව ආරම්භ කළා තියෙන පාසල් අධ්‍යාපන අමාත්‍යාංශයේ යටතට හෝ මුස්ලිම් ආගමික පාසල් යටතට ගැනීම නෙමෙයි. ඒ පාසල් තහනම් කිරීම. යම් කිසි ලෙසකින් එසේ ඉඩ තිබෙන බවත් අධ්‍යාපන අමාත්‍යාංශයේ පාලනය කළ යුතු බවත් කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලය ලබන සතියේදී තීරණය කළොත් එකී තීරණය අනුව පනතක් පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට ගේන්න වෙනවා. ඒ පනත පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට ඉදිරිපත් කළ වහාම අපි ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨාධිකරණයට යනවා. මේ රටේ මූලික ආණ්ඩු ක්‍රම ව්‍යවස්ථාවේ හා නීති පද්ධතිය සලසලා තියෙන විධිවිධාන වලට පටහැනිව කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලය තීන්දුව තීරණ ගැනීම සම්බන්ධයෙන්
A group of SLFP members, including UPFA General Secretary Mahinda Amravira, handed over the party's new set of proposals on national security to the Chief Prelates of Asgiri and Malwata chapters today. The group expressed confidence that the set of proposals can be implemented with the support of President Maithripala Sirisena as well as the Sectoral Oversight Committee on National Security. Members of the SLFP, including UPFA General Secretary Mahinda Amravira and Parliamentarian Dayasiri Jayasekara, called on the Chief Prelate of Asgiri chapter, Most Venerable Varakaguru Sri Gnanarathanathera, to hand over their set of proposals on national security.
දැනට තීරණය කළා තියෙනවා ජාතික ආරක්ෂාව පිළිබඳ ආංශික අධීක්ෂණ කමිටුව හැටියට ඔබ වහන්සේලාගෙන් යෝජනා අපි ඇවිල්ලා ලබා ගන්න.
The group then called on the chief prelate of Malvatta chapter, Most Venerable Tibbatuave Sri Sumangala Thera, to hand over their proposals.
අපි අපේ සමහර දේවල් අපි බලනවා නියෝග විදියට ගේන්න සමහර ඒවා නීති විදියට ගේන්න ඒ සමහර දේවල් ව්‍යවස්ථාවට ඇතුළත් කරගන්න වගේ දේවල් දීර්ඝකාලීන වැඩසටහන්.
ඔව් ඒ පැත්තෙන් සම්පූර්ණ ජනාධිපතිතුමාත් මේක අපි දැනුවත් කරා බොහොම උනන්දුවක් තියෙනවා. එතුමා දැනටමත් සමහර ඒවාට මැදිහත් වෙලා තියෙනවා. අපිට බය තිබුණේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුව අපිට මේක පුළුවන් වේද කියලා. නමුත් දැන් නම් අපිට පේන විදියට මේකට කවුරුත් වගේ කැමතියි.
General Secretary of the UPFA, MP Mahinda Amaraweera, then expressed these views to media.
මේ වෙනකොට සියලු පක්ෂ නායකින් අපි මුණ ගැහිලා තියෙනවා. ඒ අය ඉතාමත් කැමැත්තෙන් මේකට උත්තර දායක වෙලා තියෙනවා. ආරක්ෂාව පිළිබඳව ආංශික කාරක සභාවෙන් මේකට අවශ්‍ය සම්පූර්ණ නීති රීති ටික සකස් කරලා දෙනවා.
Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit, revealed that the Archbishop Diocese is planning to declare those who lost their lives in the Easter Sunday attacks as martyrs. The Cardinal made this remark during a special Holy Mass conducted in Boralla today.
A special Holy Mass in remembrance of those who were killed in the Easter bombings was conducted at the All Saints Church in Boralla today.
ඔබ මොනවද කරන්න හදන්නේ කියලා. දැන් ඇති මේ වගේ අපරාධ කරන්න එපා. ආගමක් වෙනුවෙන් මිනි මරන්න බෑ. අපිට තියෙන වගකීම වන්නේ හැම මිනිස්සෙකුගේම ජීවිතය අගය කිරීමයි. මේ ධර්මය කියලා කියන්නේ අනේකයි. එදා කොච්චි කඩේ එහෙම නැත්නම් කටුව පිටියේ එහෙම නැත්නම් සියොන් දේවස්ථානයේ එහෙම නැත්නම් ඒ ආපන ශාලාවල සේවය කරන්න ගියේ ඒ අය තමන්ගේ නායකකම් ඉටු කරන්නටයි ගියේ. ඒ නිසා අපි අගරාධිපති පදවිය පුරාවට සැලසුම් කරනවා යම් දවසක මේ අපේ සහෝදර සහෝදරියන් ප්‍රාණ පරිත්‍යාගයෙන් ලෙස ප්‍රකාශයට පත් කරන්නට.
Meanwhile, another memorial was held at the Batticaloa District Secretariat yesterday in memory of those who died during the explosion at Zion Church.
And with that, we cross over to a short commercial break, but make sure you stay tuned for more local news on the other side. The British High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, James Adoris, contradicts claims that foreign investigators are an interference in Sri Lanka's national security. Speaking to Indivari Amawat on our political and current affairs program at Hyde Park, the UK High Commissioner pointed out that international cooperation is needed to counter the threat of international terrorism.
What can we learn from the United Kingdom in terms of dealing with this level of terrorism and extremism?
IS, as we saw only a few weeks ago here in Sri Lanka, is much, much more nebulous. The sort of terrorism that we've seen here recently that you're referring to in the UK is truly international in its dimension. So international cooperation is absolutely essential to fighting this sort of international terrorism.
Are you saying, High Commissioner, that we must welcome overseas intelligence officials in order to cooperate the fight against terrorists?
One challenge when you have the intelligence is how you bring it together, how you assess its value. So it's important to have in place a mechanism for bringing together information that's come from different sources, sitting down together and saying, right, what do we know about this? What do we think it means? And in that case, what do we think we need to do about it? So that between them, they can better understand the nature of the general and specific threats.
What has the role been of your investigators? And are they still in Sri Lanka?
Yes, a number of British experts with different areas of expertise. To give you one example, the London Police Force. They travel overseas whenever and wherever British nationals are the victims of terrorist attacks.
Are they continuing to engage in their investigations?
We still have, I think it's now 2 members of the Metropolitan Police here, yes, who are continuing to work very closely with colleagues in the Sri Lankan system here, particularly in Colombo.
How do you respond to allegations that foreign investigators, they are a threat to Sri Lanka's sovereignty and national security, especially after several investigators, again from the Western world, were present in Sri Lanka? We had a lot of concerns raised about the level of involvement.
We are happy to share our expertise where it contributes to building up the sort of capability that will help, for example, friends in Sri Lanka deal with the immediate aftermath, but also work out what to do to develop their own resistance, their own ability to resist, respond to, identify, stop any future attack of this sort should somebody be thinking about it. So no, it's not about interference. Our experts very much come here with the intention of sharing and where they are welcomed, helping people to develop capabilities, learning from us. We are equally happy, of course, to learn from the countries that we travel to.
Security forces have beefed up security for the general public. Is there anything that the UK is concerned about?
There's always a threat to our countries. We're talking more generically about the threat these days of fundamentalist terrorism. Then we are not going to be in a position to say that we have defeated it. What we can, of course, though, do, and this is, I think, what the public is looking to our governments to do, is give them well-founded assurances that as much as they can reasonably do is being done to keep people safe.
Did UK have any intelligence information about attacks that were targeting Sri Lanka? I
can tell you I certainly was not aware, absolutely not aware that terrorists were plotting any sort of attack on Easter Sunday here.
But was it very concerning for you when reports that emerged later on that there were intelligence information readily available here in Sri Lanka?
Yes, there are some concerning reports about whether or not action that should have been taken was taken. But again, I don't think it's for me to comment on this.
India has finalized a new system to speed up the sale of military equipment to several countries in Asia, including Sri Lanka, through defence lines of credit in a bid to prevent third parties like China from undercutting India in weapons supplies. India Defence Ministry officials have said that the new standard operating procedure will substantially enhance the pace of utilisation of the defence credit lines, which will shorten negotiations and the price discovery process. According to Indian media outlet The Times of India, India has finalized a new system to speed up sales of military equipment to friendly countries like Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Vietnam, Afghanistan, Myanmar and others through defence lines of credit. Quoting Defence Ministry officials, The Times of India reported that the new standard operating procedure, finalising consultation with the External Affairs Ministry of India, will substantially enhance the pace of utilisation of the defence LOCs extended to friendly countries. The report further noted that this will not only help India boost its arms exports, but also prevent third parties like China from undercutting India in countries like Bangladesh, Sri Lanka and Myanmar in terms of weapon supplies. The Times of India stated that the standard of procedure will apply to both fresh as well as unutilized defence LOCs. A major hurdle in the implementation of defence LOCs has been the long-winded complex process of price discovery of the defence products identified by the friendly countries. The report highlighted that under the new SOP, the Indian defence companies will now directly quote the prices of the identified products at the rate they were sold to the Indian Armed Forces in a bid to shorten negotiations and price discovery process. Although India has become one of the world's top defence importers, the Government of India has made it a priority to create a robust defence industrial base under its Make in India initiative. The Indian government issued the Defence Production Policy in 2018 to promote public and private sector production, as well as encourage medium and small enterprises' participation in defence production. According to data from the Indian Ministry of Defence, India exported $6,087 billion worth of arms last year alone. Meanwhile, motorists have been given a grace period to comply with traffic lane rules in all cities across the island. Police spokesperson SP Ruwangunasekara said that a grace period of 2 weeks will be in effect starting tomorrow. After 2 weeks, police will strictly enforce traffic lane laws in all cities in Sri Lanka. Chinese ambassador to Sri Lanka, Cheng Zuyan, assured that China attaches importance to Sri Lanka's concerns on its tourism industry hit by the April 21st attacks and will promptly promote Chinese tourist arrivals to the island and tourism exchanges. He made these comments during a recent meeting with the Minister of Tourism, John Amratunga, where both sides exchanged in-depth views on promoting tourism between the two countries. The ambassador went on to say that China is willing to provide assistance within the capacity of Sri Lanka to safeguard national security and promote economic development. The Chinese envoy further highlighted that he hopes Sri Lanka will understand China's practical security concerns and was quoted as saying that China will proceed according to the security situation of Sri Lanka and promptly promote Chinese tourist visits and promote tourism exchanges as well as personal exchanges between the two countries. Market analysts expect weak turnover at the Colombo Stock Exchange in the upcoming week ahead of the central bank policy announcement next Friday. This week, the average daily turnover was down from last week to 206 million rupees. We now have analysis on the markets. How will the markets perform in the upcoming week?
Both debt and equity markets are likely to be slow next week. Bond market is likely to be stagnant with ahead of the central bank policy announcement, which is expected to be next Friday. There could also be a bit of profit taking considering the heavy decline in rates last week. In the equity market, of course, we expect the market to again be stagnant in the first few days with the continuous uptrend we've seen in the last week. We expect buying interest to be slow and the turnover levels also to be weak. Market may react depending on the policy announcement on Friday.
Well, we have news from the international arena coming up next, but make sure you stay tuned for more. An earthquake with a magnitude as high as 8 struck Peru's Amazon region in the north-central province of the country. According to preliminary readings from the United States Geological Survey, the earthquake's epicenter was at an approximate depth of 115 kilometers and felt as far as afield as Venezuela and Ecuador. One death and several injuries are reported so far. Peruvian President Martin Vizcarra said on Twitter that authorities were evaluating the affected areas and urged people to remain calm.
Acá también ha caído cantidad de casas. Ya le informó ahorita va a haber réplicas acá en Grimaguas.
3 Frenchmen have been sentenced to death by an Iraqi court today after being found guilty of joining the Islamic State militant group. They are the first IS suspects from France to be sentenced to death. The men, who were among 12 French citizens captured in Syria by US-backed fighters before being transferred to Iraq for trial, have 30 days to appeal. Sri Lanka's cricket icon Mahela Jayawardene has declined an offer to be a part of Sri Lanka's World Cup campaign due to internal politics within Sri Lanka cricket. In an interview with a local media outlet, the two-time IPL winning coach expressed dismay over SLC's failure to consider the recommendations put forward by his committee last year.
Speaking to a local media outlet, Sri Lanka's former captain Mahela Jayawardene revealed that he was invited to play a role in Sri Lanka's World Cup campaign but declined largely because he remains disappointed with the conduct of Sri Lanka cricket. Now, a two-time IPL winning coach, Jayawardene also expressed dismay over SLC's failure to seriously consider the recommendations put forward by his committee last year. Jayawardene was also harsh on the leadership of the country's two most experienced players, Angelo Matthews and Dinesh Chandimal, whose failures he believes contributed to the rapid recent turnover of captains in the national side. According to the cricketing legend, the only complaint he has against the two players is that they gave in to cricket politics.
Having won 20 Grand Slam titles during a glittering career, one might think that Roger Federer has seen it all. Yet the 37-year-old Swiss admits he is stepping into the unknown as he returns to the French Open after a 3-year hiatus. The former world number one only won his only Roland Garros title back in 2009 and wants to give it another go after skipping the last 3 editions of the clay court major.
Don't know. A bit of a question mark for me. Some ways I feel similar to maybe the Australian Open in 17. It's a bit of the unknown. I feel like I'm playing good tennis, but is it enough, or is it enough against the absolute top guys when it really comes to the crunch? I'm not sure if it's in my racket, you know, but I hope I can get myself in that position deep down in the tournament against the top guys. But I first need to get there, and I know that's a challenge in itself. So, but yeah, it's definitely going to be an exciting tournament for me mentally to go through. Center court looks very different. There's been a lot of upgrades. I feel still it is the old Roland Garros. It's kept its flair and everything. Very happy to be back. Maybe a tiny bit more, you know, because I've missed the last 3 editions, and this is the case this year. So I'm really happy to be back in Paris.
And with that, we conclude this edition of First at 9. Thank you for joining us and have a pleasant evening.